Welcome back to Profiles. We have with us Eugenie Cottrell. Eugenie, before we went to the break, we were talking about your charity, Animals in Need, and we were talking about the life events that kind of led you to becoming involved in that. You had got married quite young, had children, and sort of been engrossed in raising them, and then you went back to your studies and got a first in law, and took it upon yourself to try and give back in some way, and use that experience that you've had for something positive, some quite dark experiences that you've had, for something very positive, and to set a good example for your kids. And you know, that's amazing. Has the charity given back to you emotionally what you thought it would?
It has, very much so, because I'll give you an example. On a day-to-day basis, every Saturday morning, a number of us, usually the same people, we go to the shelter in La Linea, then we go to 2 private kennels that we have a number of dogs in. And the difference between the suffering in the eyes of that animal and that dog sitting on a sofa or sleeping in his own bed in the evening is us. We can make that difference. So it's hard because, you know, Saturday morning you've been working all week, you go get up early, you're there by 9ish, and it's hard, and you just take a deep breath before you go in, and you just say, right, let's see what we can change today. How can we make a small difference? Literally 1 dog at a time. We're a very small group. We're all working full time. We've got our families, we've got commitments, so it's quite a crusade, really. And obviously, I mean, volunteers and helpers are always welcome in so many ways. And we're building an infrastructure where it's actually, we're working under umbrellas. We work under umbrellas, international networks. We're actually building up a link with a UK charity, registered charity at the moment, who are going to assist us with home checks in the UK. We've done adoptions. The majority of our adoptions are international. We have adoptions in Switzerland, Sweden. We've got hopefully a first German one happening soon, Finland as well. So it's very internationally based and with good solid links elsewhere. Obviously riding on the back of Peter Verbakker's contacts in Holland. Obviously there's a lot of Dutch adoptions as well. So it's quite interesting actually how these networks are built, and it is like, in a way, you know, an equivalent to running a business where connections create other connections and create other possibilities. So it's a lot of work in that respect, but it's actually linking the world to Gibraltar, and it's quite an exciting time in that respect. And we've done, I think up to this point, probably about 185 adoptions.
But I mean, you've still got, you were saying, how many hundred dogs?
600.
600 dogs there. You clearly need funding, and you clearly need support, you know, whether that be people volunteering their time or being able to donate, because you know, in order for the charity to survive, it revolves exclusively on donations. I mean, there's a cost associated with, you know, sending a dog to be adopted and so on. All of these things cost money in today's world, don't they? And to a certain extent, you know, you can say, well, we are where we are with this situation. What can be done to prevent this as an ongoing situation, so we can raise the money to cope with what's going on now? And hopefully this show will help you in that regard, and help you to get the awareness that you need and get the message out there. And we'll talk in a bit about how people can get in contact with you, and maybe get in contact with you with regard to fundraising and so on. But how can we kind of stem the amount of dog abandonment that is going on? Because it seems to be 600 dogs. That's a huge amount. Is it irresponsible owners letting their dogs breed? Is it because people don't calculate what it means to take on a dog?
A bit of everything, I'd say. I mean, a condition of adoption is sterilisation. It's included in the adoption fee. We don't get any money. Adoption fees are costs, which includes sterilisation, microchip passport, obviously all vaccinations, deworming, and that is a cost to the shelter, and that's paid directly to them. But it is a condition sterilisation. So every dog adopted out is sterilised. The dogs in the shelter are sterilised. So there is a cut-off there. So rather than, I mean, other alternatives to acquiring a dog, this is stemmed as soon as the dog, you know, this is curtailed as soon as the dog is old enough to undertake the operation. So in that way, the message, you know, the awareness that we're raising in that respect is clear. If the person does not agree, then the dog is not adopted. So it's pretty strict on that.
You mentioned also about trying to get sort of some of the authorities here together to get a framework in place to kind of make the dog's life to make the framework work better within Gibraltar, because clearly Gibraltar's a nation of dog lovers. You would say here there seem to be wall to wall. Wherever you go, someone's walking a dog here. But obviously there needs to be, if dogs are being abandoned, and you were saying, you know, 200 out of 600, a third of the dogs that were in the shelter have been dropped off or abandoned, or, like as you were saying, through need, have had to have been left there. Clearly we need to perhaps address society's responsibility towards dog ownership to a certain extent?
Well, we work very closely with Mark Pissarro with the Gibraltar Veterinary Clinic, and he's been extremely supportive of our work. And we've actually obviously rehomed dogs from the clinic as well. Notably, we've worked with the police, in particular PC Victor Harrison, and he has actually rescued a dog, and we've assisted through Mark. Mark has sterilised the dog, and then we've taken the dog. The dog is living in Spain. So there's been a number of instances that we have assisted, and when we launched the charity, obviously the police commissioner attended. We were very grateful that, you know, so many wonderful people attended, and we were promised the support. I mean, Fabian, our chief minister, has been very supportive as well of our initiative, and he attended our launch and did promise support from the government. I mean, we met with the minister months ago, and he did agree to set up a forum with the police commissioner, the collector of customs, the judiciary, ourselves, and any other stakeholders that, you know, of their choice. And we've written to the minister. We're awaiting our response as to when we're actually going to start this, and that'll be quite a good basis and opportunity to start looking at sentencing, at actual investigations. We'd like the police commissioner to appoint a dedicated officer solely for this purpose of investigating neglect or cruelty cases, and because we do receive a large number of communications from people saying, this is my neighbour, this is, you know, this is happening, we can hear this. All we can do at the moment is direct them to the police, but there's no single contact, there's no dedicated person. This is something we're very keen to address urgently. I know that the government has appointed an animal welfare officer who's actually working with Mark. This is something, increased cooperation between the police, the veterinary clinic. I think our expertise that we have here with Mark has to be used a bit more, and he has to actually train police officers as to what to look for at the investigation point. We have been aware that at times the police have gone in and at times may not necessarily have known what to look for, and it is a matter of concern. We also would like, to the flip end of it, would like to look at how many cases have actually been, convictions for neglect, and these are on the increase. But we'd like a little bit more work on all this and linking all these groups together so that we can become more aware and make Gibraltar aware as well of what is not acceptable, and processes in place. So if you see something, you suspect something, then this is the number, this is a person, this is, and we want to see an outcome. When an investigation takes place, we would like to see it, obviously it's through, but what we want is consistency and training and expertise, I think, is what we need. Yeah. So this is something that we're very keen to start with government, and hence our letter to the minister, so we can start working on this local initiative.
When people donate their money, And then, you know, we want people to donate their money because you need to raise at least another £8,700 in order to achieve what needs to be done over this coming year. The goal was 10,000. You've managed to raise some money at Calentita, but there's still a big deficit there that's needed just to be able to keep doing the good work that you're doing at the moment. With that in mind, just for the audience at home, explain what a day in the life of one of these dogs is, and how really without their money, the end result is if they're not homed and without the money, there are cases where dogs are euthanized.
Well, really the day amounts to surviving the day. I mean, the dogs are never walked. They live in that cage. They could be there for 7-8 years. There's no money in the shelter to walk the dogs. There's no dog walker. The problem with taking dogs in and out is that there's many other dogs in cages, and when people walk in and out with dogs, the dogs become agitated and they end up fighting because they've got so much pent-up energy. They end up killing each other at times. So there's a very strong need for there to be calm in the shelter. If there's funding at the moment, this £10,000 mission that we need to raise, and we desperately would like, you know, businesses or individuals to please assist us. A £1 donation will make a big difference. Of urgency is the hospital in the shelter. It's very basic. There's holes in the ceiling, there's vermin, despite the best efforts of those working, there's just no money. The basic equipment, sterilizing unit needs to be able to be plugged in. We need lights. The hospital, you know, the operating table is rusty. The equipment is very old, and you know, it does result in problems. A lot of problems. There's lack of medicines. There's a lack of very basic needs are not being met. So this is where the 10,000 comes in. So that's one facet of our fundraising. The other is we've got sponsorships where people can sponsor a dog. Those who can't adopt can sponsor a dog. £10 a month will do. It costs €175 per dog. And we have groups of sponsors that are joined together which pay on a monthly basis, and they can visit the dog. We send updates on the dogs. They're part of the adoption. They get the updates. So that's another way of contributing. Then we've also got training, rehabilitation of animals, and that is another way in which you can donate. You know, a donation could be put towards that. So there's many options. We've also got dog walking groups, and so some of the dogs that go to private kennels, which facilitates, it's the next step to being rehomed, is part of a dog walking group. And there's dog walking groups, a dog walking group that we have on Sunday mornings. So that's quite a sociable way. If you can't have a dog at home, come on Sundays, take the dog for a walk, be part of the process. So that's another. There's many different ways to help, because the waiting, literally, that's what it amounts to. Making it through the day, surviving the day. Illness, disease, being bitten, being attacked. Is there enough food? At times there's not enough food either. So money's needed for food. There's no government funding in Spain either. Yeah, so it's just literally relying on donations. When there's little money, food rations have to be reduced. So it's very desperate.
It's a heartbreaking situation, and I hope that you get the support you need. I hope, you know, people listen today. How can they get in touch with you?
Through our Facebook page, Adopt a Rescue Dog Gibraltar. That's our page. We've now got 13,000 members. We're actually very active. We're very well supported. Whenever we hold an event, we have a lot of support, which we're always very grateful. So basically join our page, add your friends, join us in events. Please donate, please help.
I hope they do. I hope they do. And we wish you all the best in your future efforts. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about you and animals in need.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. Join us next week on Profiles.